Hey everybody, I got a question recently asking how to handle the salary expectation question when talking with a recruiter because they get nervous when doing so. So let's talk about money. Well, at least let's talk about how to discuss money in an interview. In this episode, I'm going to give you some context and advice that will help you understand the role of this question when it comes up early in the process. By the end, you'll be feeling better prepared to address this question the next time it comes up in your interview. Before we get started, if you feel like the old way of conducting a job search by applying to every job just isn't working, I want you to check out the Make Your Mark Challenge. It's a 14-day program that helps you build a different job search that'll have you making strides in no time. Make sure you click the link in the description below to learn more and get enrolled in the next challenge that's going to be starting soon. Now, you've made it to the phone screen with a company, and that dreaded question comes up. What are your salary expectations? You freeze. You start to sweat, and your hands start feeling clammy. In your mind, you're probably going, I don't know what to say. I don't want to come in too low, but I don't also want to come in too high either. I don't know what I want to say here. Does that sound like you? Or are you one of those people that maybe just throws out a number and hopes for the best? Either way, there's actually a better way of approaching the compensation question in the interview process. When this question does come up, typically first it's in the application process. And some companies will ask for it, some companies won't. It just kind of depends on the company. But the next time that you're on a phone screen is when it comes up, and it's typically with a recruiter. And before I go too far into this, I do want to talk about the difference of how the question is actually changing. For the longest time, most recruiters would ask the question from a standpoint of getting your salary history or what maybe you're currently making in the role that you're in or in your last role. And you may have heard it, do you have a specific salary requirement, or what are you currently making in your last role? But now, because some cities and states are passing regulations and laws around the practice of using compensation history, you may now hear recruiters asking, what are your expectations, or what are you targeting in the next role? There are other variations to this question, but the shift has definitely gone from what are you currently making to what are you targeting money-wise. So here are some things that I do want you to prepare yourself for when it comes up to this question, and it will come up. And one of the possible answers is the question that you give here. Hey John, I appreciate all the information you've given me so far, but let me ask you, what are you looking for compensation-wise in your next opportunity? It's a great question. What are you looking to pay? We may not have established a budget yet, but just kind of give me an expectation of what you're looking for in your next opportunity. I think it's just going to depend. Depend on what? I think that's another good question. Do you know what you're going to be paying for the role? Okay, don't play games. If you're taking your job search seriously, and I hope you're taking your job search seriously, this is not the type to play games or avoid questions. I know there's a lot of advice out there that talks about whoever gives the number first loses. And that's a sales negotiation technique. And while I do think the interview and job search in general can follow a sales process, this is not part of it. Recruiters aren't going to try to lowball you, and we're not trying to get out there to get you either. A story around this is I had a candidate one time who actually started laughing because he kept avoiding the question, and we were going back and forth, and it started making himself look like he was going to be difficult to work with, and it actually hurt him in the interview process. I get it. No one wants to pigeonhole themselves to a number, but at the end of the day, playing games is only going to get you to the point that the only time you may get a chance to actually talk about your compensation is going to be that first conversation. So make sure you take advantage of it. The fact is, there are a lot of people out there searching for a job, and recruiters want to help, but they don't have time for games, and neither should you. Let's take a look at a different scenario. Hey John, I appreciate all the information you've given me so far, but let me ask you, what are you looking for compensation-wise in your next opportunity?
Oh God, I've been searching for a job for the longest time. I'll just take whatever you want to give me.
Don't guess and don't be desperate. Simple enough. Yet over and over and over again, I have people say that they don't know what they're looking for, or they'll take whatever we'll pay. I've even had some people just throw a number out in a nonchalant fashion, something like, oh, I don't know, maybe $50,000. The problem with guessing is that it does not set you up for success if you have to negotiate down the road when it comes to getting an offer. This is typically where I've seen people lowball themselves thinking that they'll just come back to a higher number later. I promise that's not a good approach when it comes to what are you going to be paid in your next role. So I would suggest, and honestly, I strongly urge you not to guess when it comes to answering this question. What happens is that it will make you look unprepared, and then, I don't think you'll be valuing yourself at that point. So take the time to do the following things to position yourself better when the salary question comes up. First, do some research. Something I tell my clients in the Make Your Mark Challenge, and again, you can find that link below, is that being prepared and having a plan for your job search is going to be critical for its success. And it is even more critical when the job market is overcrowded. When it comes to the salary question, I strongly urge you to do research in two areas. First, research on the role. Websites like Indeed, Glassdoor, Salary.com, and LinkedIn, although LinkedIn may require a subscription to get the salary information, offer ways to research people are paying or companies are paying for a role based off of the location, seniority, and a few other details. So I take a look at a couple of those websites and then get a range based off of the position that you're interviewing. Second, research the job description and stack yourself up against that job description. Does the job description say that you need 4 years and you have 7? Or do you have more experience using the systems that they're requiring? Go bullet by bullet so you can see how you stack up, and then look at the range that you found when you research what companies were typically paying. And this will help you figure out the expectation you need for the role. And of course, make sure you take into account the bills you have to pay and the lifestyle that you're trying to maintain. Now, let's talk about how to answer the question. Now that you have a sense of what you're looking for from a salary perspective, it's time to talk about how to answer the question when it does come up in your interview or phone screen. So as I mentioned, this is not a time to play games, and it's not the time to avoid the question. You need to come in showing that you're serious and have taken the initiative to do some research so you'll know what to be prepared for. I suggest answering the question the following way. As I was doing some research for the interview in regards to the market history for the role and seeing that I bring more to the role than what is required, my expectation is I should be around and then give a range. Now, here's a crucial part that I do want you to add next that allows you to get more insight. And you need to ask, what is the budget for the role that we're discussing? Notice I asked an open-ended question here, and it's not just a, hey, is this in your budget? This should allow you to get a perspective of what are they looking for to paying, or at least find out if you're in their budget or not. Now, I want to note that if they don't answer your question, you can press a little by asking, hey, is this in your budget? Is it too high or is it too low? Most times a recruiter will definitely let you know if it's too high. So now you have the advice I give on how to approach the question on salary and compensation. Thanks for tuning in, and if you have a question, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. Also, if you enjoyed this or found it useful, feel free to like or subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. As well, make sure you check out the Make Your Mark Challenge if you're ready to conduct a different job search that's going to yield results.